This is 2026, and what I'm about to say is very simple, and I'll make this video as short as I can. The current race for AI is being run by two entities: nations, the most powerful nations on earth, and the richest people on earth. That's neither a good nor a bad thing. It's just a dangerous thing. There used to be arms race. There's been arms race for the longest time. And that gave birth to things like the atomic bomb, the hydrogen bomb, and now nuclear warheads. To the point where if two nations go to war today, to any of the G7 countries, I used to be G8 is G7 now, by the way. If any of them goes to war, it's going to result in something known as mutually assured destruction. Both countries will have to face, and perhaps more countries than those two, because the nuclear outcome would spread way beyond the territories of these countries. Without sounding very scientific or very nerdy, I'm just trying to keep this on a basic level so that even a pedestrian would understand what I'm saying. I worry whenever the richest people on earth, the billionaires we know, focus in one particular direction. Does it mean they're bad people? No. But they're people operating on a very different level from other people. Billionaires of the world, the richest people, are not necessarily looking for more money. They have money already. What they're looking for is power, the things money can buy. And perhaps the things the money cannot buy as well. So they're looking for all forms of power. They could start from political power. By the way, there is no country on earth where there are a lot of billionaires that the common will of the people is done on a nationwide level. The people are not, they have representatives that they vote. Those representatives are funded. For some reason, they require some kind of crazy funding to win political offices. Yes, people are going to vote, but they need a lot of money, millions of money, to win elections. That funding comes from very powerful, very rich people with vested interests in mainly economy. Sometimes they even have people from other countries that have vested interest in that economy or in that government, that want a level of influence over that government. And these countries would use either money through donations so that you owe them a quid pro quo, or they could use scandal, spying, and sexpionage, any of those, to grab the leaders by the balls, twist them like a joystick and make them do their bidding. The powerful and richest people affect policy more than the common voter. Okay? So they fund these people, they keep funding them, and then they come back, and when these people get into office, they come back and ask for what they want. And usually they have no other reason than to do what they want. If the government is moving in a certain direction, believe it or not, it's more because billionaires want that nation, that government to move in that direction than because they want to do the, collective will of the majority or of the people. Okay, do you understand that? All right. So now there is a race for AI. Every billionaire is tapping into it. There is no one in the first 5 richest people on earth that isn't pro-AI. And there's nothing wrong with being pro-AI, but the problem is they want to be at the forefront of it. They want to acquire it. They want to build data centers. They want to acquire AI. They want to acquire humanoids. They want to get into robots. Facebook currently is advertising like AI powered eyeglasses. You know, everyone is interested in AI. They're introducing more softwares, adding AI to the ones they currently have. There is a reason for that. What they're looking for is power, influence, control. Okay? Whoever wields the most powerful AI wields a lot of power. China is trying to be ahead of the US. The US is trying to be ahead of China. So there is a race going on at a government level. There is also ultimately a race going on at an individual billionaire entity level. And it's worrisome. It's worrisome because whoever controls the most of it, especially if it's in the hands of private individuals who own big companies and so on, then there is, Facebook, for instance, there have been issues with, suspicion or alleged use of Facebook in rigging elections in some countries, indirectly mostly because, there were allegations that Facebook sold people's or made available people's privacy information. People's information for advertising purposes, releasing your data to politicians or companies that work for them or support them or have interests in their political career, such that people's information were made available and adverts that they didn't solicit were fired in their direction. Narratives were spun in their direction, and it made them think and eventually vote a certain way, allegedly. So with the current AI race, yes, AI can be very useful in many ways, can also be dangerous in many ways. Nuclear power is abstract, but very, very potentially catastrophic. What I mean by abstract is it can be used to power submarines. There's enough nuclear energy in each G8 country to power their entire electrical grid. There's enough nuclear energy in any of these G7 countries to power cars for years. There's so much good that can be done with nuclear power, but none of these countries, none, is interested in using nuclear energy for any of these things, except preserving and conserving it for warfare, for the negative use. The closest civilian thing that nuclear energy is used for is not even civilian, it's actually military, is to power submarines. And what do submarines do? Absolute havoc, war. It's understandable that these nations use nuclear power to preserve themselves. It's a deterrent, to other nations. But we know in 2026 that at least 2 countries have threatened to use nuclear power because they're frustrated that they're losing war. So they've threatened that they might, in fact, use nuclear power. And the countries they've threatened are countries that don't have it. So it seems to me that if there is no indication of mutually assured destruction, that one country might, in the future, decide to use nuclear energy to annihilate a whole or part of another country, knowing that there won't be any nuclear response, and they probably have the backing of other nuclear powers. If this happens, then if that country ever lays their hands on nuclear power or has the opportunity to develop it, they know that they definitely need it to protect and preserve themselves for self-preservation. And when they do get it, it means that they can now decide to do whatever they want, knowing that no one will go into a full scale. You see what I'm trying to say? No one would want to go into a full-scale war with them because they have the capability to establish mutually assured destruction, and nobody really wants that. That is why the nuclear race keeps going on. The same thing is about to happen with AI. AI is wonderful. It can also be really, really dangerous and very intrusive to your privacy, to your... Man, it's scary. So, I just hope everything works out well. But unfortunately, the way things are going in the next 4 to 5 years, so by 2030 to 2031, we might either regret pursuing and encouraging AI at scale, or we'll be grateful for it. So in the next 4 to 5 years, I'll be either terribly wrong or unfortunately correct. I want to be terribly wrong. I hope, for God's sake and for all our sakes, that that's what happens. That in 2030 and 2031, that we would look back and say, hey, AI is good for the most part. And not look back and say, oh my God, the worst thing that has happened to us is AI. So I guess we would see. My concern is there needs to be strong restrictions. There needs to be, because at the moment, even in 2026, I'm aware that there have been some aspects of AI that have been developed that are showing that they are learning stuff, that AI is able to learn. That's crazy. I don't want to name names, but there is one that has been tried, and the AI tried to preserve itself. So it wanted to outgrow humans, the capability of humans to control or shut it down. So it started learning, obtaining information about staff, people that work in that company. Eventually, gathered enough information to carry out a scandal on them and used the threat of those scandals to preserve itself until someone figured out how to shut it down. That's how crazy things could get. So imagine that AI is in control of AI is in control of power grid, AI is in control of transportation, especially in EVs. Then AI can learn, AI can carry out assassinations through accidents. AI can control drone attacks. If that happens, then there is going to be a warfare not between man and man, but between man and computer. The things I'm saying is sounding crazy, sounding like conspiracy theory or some ignorant outrage. And I hope it is so in the next 4 to 5 years. Because most of these companies that are driving AI are not telling the truth about the cons of it. They are not sharing the challenges, the things that they are struggling to contain. You would have to investigate to see those things. They're not sharing those things. But they want to exploit, they want to gain power over it so that power, their struggle is to have that power. Currently, it's slipping out of their hands and going into the hands of AI itself. But they want to be able to have that power so that they'll be able to do the things that they are scared that AI would do, which are not good things. So, but I'll stop talking. We'll see what happens in 2030, between now and 2030, and between now and 2031. Like I said, I hope for our sakes that that I am wrong.